She arrived alone at the wedding, until the groom's millionaire friend chose to sit beside her. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to our main character. The music drifted through the ballroom like warm light, soft and elegant, the kind that wrapped around every crystal glass and gold-trimmed table. Guests laughed in clusters, clinking forks against fine china, celebrating love, wealth, and the kind of connections she had never been a part of. Emma stood near the entrance, fingers tightening around the small handmade gift she brought for the bride. It had taken her 3 nights to finish, and yet, in a room full of lavish decorations and expensive centerpieces, it suddenly felt embarrassingly small. She took a breath and whispered to herself, "You promised you would show up, so just breathe." Her dress was second-hand, the hem slightly uneven from her own shaky attempt to fix it. Her shoes pinched. She had no date, no friends at this wedding. Just an obligation to support a childhood friend she had drifted away from, but still cared about. She scanned the room for an empty seat and found one near the back. Maybe if she was quiet enough, no one would notice she did not belong. Emma slipped into the chair, lowering her gaze, hoping to disappear into the music. But moments later, the empty seat beside her shifted as someone pulled it out. She glanced up. A tall man in a perfectly tailored charcoal suit stood there, adjusting his tie with an ease that screamed confidence. His presence carried a quiet power, the kind that made people instinctively move out of his way. His dark hair was neatly styled, and his eyes, calm, observant, seemed to take in everything without needing to say much. He looked at her seat number, then at her, and for a moment she feared she had made a mistake. Wrong table, wrong place, wrong everything. But instead, he offered a gentle smile. "Mind if I sit here?" Emma blinked. "Oh, I did not know this was taken. I can move if—" "No," he said softly. "Stay. I chose this seat." Something in his tone, steady, grounded, made her chest tighten with an emotion she could not name. Why would someone like him choose to sit next to someone like her? He settled into the chair, resting his hands loosely on the table. There was no arrogance in his posture, no impatience, only a calm presence that felt strangely comforting. For a moment, neither spoke. Then he nodded toward the little gift box she kept turning in her hands. "That looks handmade," he said. "It is beautiful." Emma swallowed, surprised anyone noticed. "I tried my best. It is just a small thing." "Small things matter," he replied. "Sometimes more than anything else." His words landed deeper than he probably intended. She found herself smiling. She did not know his name. She did not know that everyone else in the ballroom knew exactly who he was. She did not know that he was Ethan Cole, the millionaire friend of the groom, a man whose quiet influence stretched across the city. She only knew that, in a room where she felt invisible, he chose to sit beside her, and that single choice would change everything. Emma did not know how long she sat there, trying to steady her breathing. The reception moved on around her, but the presence of the man beside her grounded her in a way she did not expect. When the bride and groom stepped away for photos, the ballroom lights dimmed slightly, and the soft glow made every moment feel closer, quieter. The man beside her glanced toward the dance floor, then back at her. "You seem a little overwhelmed," he said gently. Emma let out a small laugh, nervous but honest. "I am trying not to think about how out of place I feel." "You are not out of place," he said. His voice carried the kind of certainty she did not often hear directed at her. "You showed up for someone you care about. That is more than many people here can say." She looked down at the tiny gift box in her hands. "I just hope she likes this. It is nothing special." He leaned closer, just enough for the warmth of his presence to reach her. "It is special. Thoughtfulness always is." His words struck something inside her, something she kept hidden under layers of practicality and exhaustion. She wanted to ask his name, but hesitated, intimidated by the effortless way he carried himself. Instead, she asked the safe question. "So, how do you know the groom?" He smiled. "We grew up together. He is like a brother to me." Emma nodded. That must be nice, to have someone that close. The smile on his face softened. It is, but it also makes nights like this interesting. Sometimes you want to escape the noise and find a quiet corner. She raised an eyebrow. Is that why you sat here? To escape? His eyes held hers, steady and warm. No, I chose this seat because you were here. Emma felt her chest tighten again. Compliments usually made her uncomfortable, but something about the sincerity in his tone disarmed her defenses. She had been invisible in so many rooms in her life, but tonight, somehow, she was seen. The waitstaff placed fresh plates on the table, and the conversation around them grew louder with toasts and laughter. Emma watched couples swirl across the dance floor, the kind of effortless elegance she had never been able to imitate. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear and tried to focus on her breathing again. He noticed. You are not a big fan of crowds, are you? Not like this, Emma admitted. I am more of a coffee shop and sketchbook kind of person. His expression shifted, a spark of interest appearing. You draw? She nodded, embarrassed. Just little things, nothing serious. You would be surprised how many great things start as little sketches, he said. Before she could answer, the groom appeared, slightly flushed from speeches and excitement. He clapped a hand on the man's shoulder. There you are, Ethan. I have been looking everywhere for you. Emma felt her breath catch. Ethan, so that was his name. The groom looked between them and grinned. I see you found good company. Ethan glanced at Emma before answering. The best I could have hoped for. Emma's cheeks warmed, and she lowered her eyes. She did not know what to say or how to respond to a man like him, someone who seemed so far out of her orbit that she could not imagine any reason he would stay seated beside her. The groom was pulled away again, and Ethan returned his attention to her. So, he said, his tone lighter now, are you planning to stay for the bouquet toss or make an early escape? Emma let out a soft laugh. I had not decided yet. Maybe an early escape. Then I will walk you out when you are ready, Ethan said. No one should leave alone tonight. The words settled into her like a promise. She did not know who Ethan Cole truly was. She did not know why he cared, but she felt something shifting, quietly, beneath the surface of an ordinary life. And somewhere deep inside, she sensed that this night was only the beginning. Emma stepped outside into the cool night air, with Ethan walking a respectful half-step behind her. The sounds of the wedding faded as the ballroom doors closed, replaced by the soft hum of distant traffic and the rustle of leaves in the courtyard. She inhaled deeply, letting the quiet settle her nerves. The moonlight reflected off the small fountain nearby, creating soft ripples that danced across the pavement. Thank you for letting me walk with you, Ethan said. His tone was gentle, almost careful, as if he did not want to disturb the moment she was trying to reclaim. Emma hugged her gift box closer to her chest. It was overwhelming in there. I did not expect any of it. Ethan nodded. Weddings can be like that. A lot of noise, a lot of expectations. She glanced at him. You looked like you fit right in. A hint of a smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Do I? Sometimes fitting in has very little to do with how you feel. His answer surprised her. She had assumed a man like him, self-assured, elegant, completely at ease, moved through these spaces without difficulty. The idea that he might feel otherwise made him feel more human, more reachable. They walked toward the parking area at a slow pace, neither rushing to end the night. The sky above them was clear, dotted with stars. Emma found herself studying him in the corner of her vision. The quiet confidence, the thoughtful pauses before he spoke, the way he seemed genuinely interested in every word she said. Did you enjoy the wedding? He asked. I did, she said honestly. I just wish I had someone there that I knew, someone to talk to. You did, he replied softly. You had me. Emma felt her breath catch again. Every time he said something like that, it felt both unbelievable and undeniably sincere. I still do not understand why you sat next to me, she admitted. Because I wanted to, he said. You looked like you needed a moment of calm, and I needed someone real to talk to. The sincerity in his voice made her look away for a moment, flustered. She was not used to being noticed, let alone chosen, by someone like him. They reached the edge of the lot, where the dim lights formed small islands of brightness on the pavement. Emma stopped and turned to him. Well, she said softly, this is me. Ethan looked at her older, dented compact car. His face remained neutral, respectful. Not a trace of judgment flickered in his expression. If anything, he seemed more attentive. Did you drive far? He asked. About 40 minutes, she said. I work part-time at a cafe on the other side of town, so I stay close to that area. You work late shifts? Mostly evenings. It helps with rent. Ethan nodded thoughtfully, as if every detail mattered. I would like to see you again, he said quietly. Emma blinked. You would? Yes, Ethan replied. If you were comfortable with that, maybe a cup of coffee somewhere quieter than a wedding ballroom. Her heart fluttered with a mix of excitement and disbelief. She wanted to say yes immediately, but a lifetime of being cautious held her back. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. I would like that, she finally said. A gentle warmth touched Ethan's eyes. Good. There is a small place uptown that I think you will like. No pressure, just conversation. Emma nodded, feeling a shy smile rise. That sounds nice. Before she could open her car door, Ethan reached into his jacket pocket and offered her a simple business card. His name was printed in clean, elegant lettering. Ethan Cole. No title, no company, nothing flashy. Call or text me when you get home, he said, so I know you arrived safely. Emma hesitated, then took the card. Thank you. I will. Ethan stepped back, giving her space, but the moment lingered between them. Quiet, warm, filled with possibilities she never imagined when she walked into the wedding alone. As she started the engine, Emma glanced at him one more time. He stood there under the soft parking lot lights, hands in his pockets, watching her with a calm, steady expression. She felt something unfamiliar rise in her chest, hope. She drove away slowly, the card resting safely beside her. She did not know who Ethan Cole truly was, or what role he would play in her life. But she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Tonight was no accident. It was the start of something she could not yet name. Emma did not sleep much that night. She lay awake in her small apartment, staring at the faint glow of streetlights bleeding through the curtains. Ethan's card rested on her nightstand, its clean white surface catching every bit of light. She kept glancing at it, as though it might vanish if she looked away for too long. She finally sent a brief message, letting him know she had arrived home safely. His reply came within seconds. I am glad you are home. Sleep well, Emma. No unnecessary words. No flirtation, just calm sincerity. It was the kind of message that made her chest tighten. The next morning, she woke earlier than usual and hurried through her shift at the cafe. The hours moved slowly, filled with the usual stream of customers, orders, and the familiar hum of the espresso machine. But her mind drifted back to the man in the charcoal suit, the quiet warmth in his eyes, the feeling that he had seen her when she thought she was invisible. Around noon, her phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. There is a place near the river I would like to show you. Would you like to meet this afternoon? Emma almost dropped the mug she was drying. She quickly typed back. Yes. What time? 4 o'clock. I will send the address. At exactly 4, she arrived at the cafe he had mentioned. It was nothing like she expected. It was not a fancy place or a hidden luxury spot. It was small, quiet, wood-paneled, with large windows facing the river and the smell of roasted beans drifting through the air. Ethan was already inside, seated at a corner table, watching the water outside as if he found peace in the movement of the current. He stood when he saw her. I am glad you came. Emma smiled shyly. Thank you for inviting me. They sat across from each other, sunlight warming the table between them. For a moment, neither spoke, not because of awkwardness, but because the silence felt natural. Emma traced the rim of her cup, waiting for him to speak. I like coming here when I need to think, Ethan said. It is quiet, no pressure, no people trying to pull me in 100 directions. Emma nodded. I understand that feeling. He studied her for a moment. You said yesterday that you draw. Do you bring your sketchbook with you often? She hesitated. Sometimes. I just draw whatever comes to mind. I would like to see your work one day, he said gently. Only if you are comfortable sharing it. Emma felt her cheeks warm. Maybe. It is not very good. I doubt that, Ethan replied. They talked for an hour, then another. He asked about her favorite places in the city, the kind of music she liked, the dreams she kept tucked away because life demanded practicality. He listened without interrupting. He asked thoughtful questions. He laughed at the small stories she told, not out of politeness, but because he genuinely found them charming. At one point, when she spoke about her art, he leaned back and listened with a softness she had not seen in many people. She felt herself opening up, little by little, without realizing it. When the sky turned golden, Ethan said, Would you like to walk by the river? They stepped outside, moving slowly along the path lined with trees. The air was crisp, and the sunlight shimmered on the water. Emma felt lighter than she had in months, maybe years. You know, Ethan said quietly, I did not expect to meet someone like you at the wedding. Emma laughed softly. Someone like me? Yes, he said. Someone honest, someone who does not pretend, someone who makes it easy to breathe. Emma looked ahead, trying to steady her heartbeat. I am nothing extraordinary. His voice lowered. That is where you are wrong. They walked until the sky shifted to soft blue, and the city lights began to appear along the riverbank. Time seemed to slow around them, wrapped in the quiet rhythm of shared steps and unspoken understanding. When they reached the end of the path, Ethan stopped. Emma, he said, his tone gentle, I would like to see you again. I hope that is something you want too. Emma felt the truth rise inside her, clear and steady. Yes, I would like that. Ethan smiled, the kind of smile that softened everything around it. Then this is a good beginning. Emma held on to those words as she drove home that evening, her sketchbook resting on the passenger seat. She did not know what the future held, but she knew one thing. Something real was forming, quietly and beautifully, between her and Ethan Cole. Number 15. Millionaire Vakogaida Chang, 39 foot said, Emma spent the next several days moving through her routine with an unexpected lightness. Her shifts at the cafe felt less heavy, her walks home felt less lonely, and every evening she found herself opening her sketchbook again, letting her pencil drift across the page the way it used to before life became all responsibility and no space for dreams. Ethan texted her each morning, never overbearing, always warm. I hope your shift goes smoothly today. Did you get a chance to draw last night? I found a song that made me think of you. I will send it if you want. Emma felt something growing in the quiet space between their conversations, something she was almost afraid to name. On Friday afternoon, he invited her to meet him at a small park overlooking the city skyline. When she arrived, she saw him waiting on a wooden bench beneath a tall oak tree. He looked up with a smile that reached his eyes. You made it, he said. I did, she replied, returning the smile. He gestured to the open space beside him. Sit with me? Emma sat, feeling the warmth of the late afternoon sun settling on her shoulders. Birds chirped overhead, and the distant sound of children playing mixed with the breeze. The world felt softer here, calmer, as if time had chosen to slow down for just the two of them. Ethan glanced at her hands, where she was absent-mindedly holding her sketchbook. You brought it, she nodded quietly. I thought, maybe I could show you something. His expression softened. I would like that very much. Emma flipped carefully to a page she had finished the night after the wedding. It showed the ballroom from her perspective, the soft lights, the polished floor, the silhouettes of people she barely knew. And in the corner, shaded delicately with her pencil, sat a man in a tailored suit, subtle, observant, peaceful. It was Ethan. She felt her breath tighten as she handed it to him. I did not know if it was good, but it felt honest. Ethan studied the sketch without speaking. His eyes moved slowly across the page, taking in every stroke. When he finally looked up, there was something deep and unguarded in his expression. Emma, he said quietly, no one has looked at me like this in a very long time. She felt heat rise to her face. I just drew what I saw. What you saw, he replied, is more than most people ever try to see. He held the sketch with a kind of reverence, as if it were something precious. Emma felt a nervous flutter in her chest, uncertain what to do with the intensity of his sincerity. After a moment, he asked, Can I show you something? Emma nodded. Ethan reached into his coat and took out a small, worn leather notebook. Inside were short notes, sketches, and thoughts written in his careful handwriting. He showed her a page filled with small lines, describing moments from the wedding. Woman sitting alone, quiet, not pretending, gift box in her hands, something fragile, something brave. Emma blinked, stunned. You wrote that about me? I did, he said. You were the most real person in that entire room. I noticed you the moment you walked in. She felt emotion rise unexpectedly, fragile and warm. Ethan closed the notebook. I wanted to ask for your number that night, but I did not want to overwhelm you. I hoped we would cross paths again. Emma took a slow breath, letting the moment settle around them. She had spent so much of her life feeling unnoticed, small, easy to forget. Yet this man, this quiet, thoughtful man, had seen her in a way no one ever had. "Ethan," she said softly, "I am glad we met, really glad." His eyes filled with that same warm sincerity she had come to recognize. "So am I." They sat in silence for a few minutes, watching the sunlight drift through the branches overhead. The day felt suspended, held together by the gentle gravity forming between them. As the sun dipped lower, Ethan finally asked, "Emma, would you like to have dinner with me tomorrow night? Somewhere simple, just us, no noise, no crowd." Emma felt her heart open wider than she expected. "Yes, I would like that." Ethan smiled, soft, genuine, filled with quiet hope. This was more than a beginning now. It was becoming something real. Emma woke the next morning with a nervous excitement she had not felt in years. She cleaned her small apartment, straightened her sketchbooks on the shelf, and checked the time more often than she cared to admit. Dinner with Ethan. The thought alone made her pulse quicken. She spent extra care choosing her outfit, something simple and soft, something that felt like her without trying to be anyone else. When she arrived at the small restaurant Ethan had chosen, she paused outside for a moment. It was not glamorous or flashy. It was warm, wood-lined, with soft lighting that glowed through the windows. A place meant for conversation, not attention. When she stepped inside, Ethan was already standing, waiting for her. He smiled the moment their eyes met. "You look wonderful," he said, his voice quiet but sincere. Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Thank you. This place is beautiful." "I thought it suited you," Ethan said. "Comfortable, honest." They sat across from one another, and for a while, everything felt effortless. They talked about music, about small memories from childhood, about the funny mishaps at her cafe job. Ethan listened with the same gentle attention he always gave her, as if every detail mattered. Emma found herself laughing more easily, speaking more openly, letting her guard fall without realizing it. Halfway through dinner, their plates were cleared, and soft instrumental music filled the space between them. Emma traced the edge of her water glass, gathering a bit of courage. "Ethan," she said softly, "why did you write about me in that notebook? The wedding was so busy. You could have talked to anyone." "There were a lot of people there," Ethan said, leaning slightly forward. "People who wanted something from me. More business, more access, more favors. And then there was you. You were just trying to breathe, trying to be present. You were not pretending." Emma lowered her eyes. "I felt so out of place." "You were the only one who did not need to place yourself anywhere," he replied. "That is why you stood out." His words struck something deep, something tender. Emma did not know how to respond at first. She simply breathed slowly, letting herself absorb the sincerity she had spent years learning to live without. When the check arrived, Ethan paid with a polite smile, not drawing attention to it. There was no show, no gesture meant to impress her. Everything he did felt grounded and real. They stepped outside into the cool evening air. Streetlights flickered on, casting a soft amber glow on the sidewalk. For a moment, they simply stood there, close enough that Emma could feel the warmth of his presence. "Do you have a little time?" Ethan asked quietly. "There is something nearby I want to show you." Emma nodded, curiosity gathering in her chest. He led her down the block to a small gallery tucked between two larger buildings. Through the window, Emma saw a modest exhibit: sketches, watercolor pieces, and small sculptures made by local artists. The space was quiet, lit with warm lamps that made every piece feel close and intimate. Ethan opened the door for her. "They keep it open late on weekends. I thought you might like it." Emma stepped inside slowly, her breath catching at the sight of the artwork. Many pieces felt raw, personal, created by people who had learned their craft, not through privilege but through persistence. "This is amazing," she whispered. "I come here when I want to remind myself what creativity looks like without pressure," Ethan said. "Without money involved, just expression." Emma moved from piece to piece, letting her eyes absorb the colors and shapes. She felt something awaken inside her, the quiet pulse of inspiration she had thought she lost. Ethan watched her with a softness that made her heart ache. "You see the world in a way most people do not," he said. "It is in your drawings. It is in the way you notice everything. I wanted you to see what that looks like reflected back." Emma turned to him, emotion rising in her throat. "Ethan, thank you. This means more than you know." He stepped closer, not touching her, but close enough that she felt the warmth of his words. "I want to understand your world," Ethan said. "Not reshape it, not change you, just understand." Emma held his gaze, her heart opening wider than ever before. This was more than gentle conversation, more than gradual affection. It was trust beginning to bloom, and neither of them realized how much it would matter in the days to come. Emma spent the following week moving between her quiet routine and the growing connection she shared with Ethan. Their conversations deepened, their messages grew longer, and yet, with every gentle step forward, Emma felt a small knot of uncertainty tightening inside her. She did not understand why it was there, but it stayed, quietly tugging at her thoughts whenever she let her guard down. One evening, Ethan invited her to visit a community art space near downtown. He told her it was a place he went to when he wanted to think. Emma arrived early, sketchbook in hand, her heart beating faster the moment she saw him waiting outside, hands in his pockets, a calm smile on his face. "You came," he said, stepping toward her. "I would not miss it," she replied. Inside, the space was warm and alive, filled with unfinished canvases, jars of brushes, and soft music drifting through the air. A group of local artists worked quietly in the corners, each lost in their own world. Emma felt both nervous and inspired. Ethan watched her take it all in. "I thought you might like this place. The people here create because they have something to say, not because they are trying to prove anything." Emma touched the edge of a nearby canvas. "It feels honest." "That is why I wanted to show it to you," Ethan said. "Everything about you feels honest." His words made her pause. She fought the instinct to look away, but she held his gaze. "Ethan, I still do not understand why you are so interested in me." Ethan did not hesitate. "Because you are yourself, because you do not perform, and because the world looks different through your eyes." Emma tried to absorb the sincerity in his voice, but the knot inside her pulled harder. She felt something shifting, something that both excited and frightened her. She walked toward an empty table where blank sheets of paper were set out for visitors. She reached for a pencil. "Do you ever draw?" she asked him lightly. Ethan laughed softly. "I used to, when I had more time. Work can take over before you realize it." Emma began sketching simple lines. "What do you do exactly?" she asked casually. Ethan hesitated for a fraction of a second, barely noticeable, but Emma caught it. He answered gently, "I work in investments. It is complicated sometimes, but it pays the bills." Emma nodded slowly. She did not question it further, but something in his tone, something practiced, lingered in her mind. They spent nearly an hour exploring the studio. At one point, Emma noticed a few people glancing in Ethan's direction with surprise, as if they recognized him. She tried to brush it away, reminding herself not to overthink things. When they stepped outside, the sun had already dipped below the skyline, leaving a warm afterglow across the buildings. Ethan walked beside her, their steps slow, neither of them wanting the evening to end. "Can I tell you something?" Emma said quietly. "Anything," Ethan replied. "I am not used to this," she admitted. "Any of this. Someone choosing me, someone showing up." Ethan stopped walking and faced her fully. "Emma, choosing you feels easy. It feels natural." His voice was steady, full of a warmth that reached through all the walls she had built around herself. But the knot inside her finally loosened just enough to let the truth slip out. "What if I disappoint you?" she whispered. "What if I am not enough?" Ethan's expression softened. "You do not have to be anything more than who you are right now. I am here because I want to be, not because I expect anything from you." Emma breathed deeply, letting the words wash over her. For a moment, the city seemed quieter, as if giving them space to feel whatever was rising between them. Ethan reached out, his hand stopping just short of hers. "May I?" Emma nodded. He gently took her hand, and the warmth of his touch sent a soft ache through her chest. It felt careful, respectful, full of promise. "Emma," he said, "I want to keep getting to know you, at your pace, in your world, and I am not going anywhere." She squeezed his hand lightly, allowing herself to believe him. I want that too." They continued walking, fingers intertwined, the night settling around them in a soft embrace. Emma did not know that this moment, this quiet confession beneath the fading city lights, would become one she returned to again and again. Because soon, the truth Ethan had been keeping hidden would come knocking, and everything between them would shift. Emma arrived at the cafe early the next morning, still carrying the warmth of the night before. She replayed Ethan's voice in her mind, the way he told her he was not going anywhere. His words had settled into her like a soft anchor, something steady in a world that had never offered her much stability. But as she tied her apron and prepared for the day's shift, that small knot of uncertainty began tugging again. She tried to ignore it. She tried to focus on brewing coffee, greeting customers, wiping down tables. Yet her thoughts kept drifting back to the moment in the art studio when people looked at Ethan with recognition. She had brushed it aside then, but now she felt a quiet unease rising. Around noon, the cafe grew busy. Emma hurried from table to table, balancing trays and taking orders. When she turned toward the entrance, her breath caught. Ethan was standing there, not in a suit, but in a simple dark shirt and jeans, looking both out of place and completely at ease all at once. Several customers glanced in his direction, whispering to each other. Emma felt her pulse speed up. He smiled softly when he saw her. "I was in the area," he said. "Thought I would stop by and say hello." Emma returned the smile, though a part of her wondered if it was truly that simple. "I am glad you did. It is a busy day." "Then I will not keep you long," Ethan said. "I just wanted to ask if you are free this evening. I would like to take you somewhere." Before Emma could answer, a coworker tapped her shoulder. "We need that order for table 6. "Right," she said quickly. She turned back to Ethan. "Can I text you in a bit?" "Of course," he said. "Take your time." But as he stepped aside, 2 customers approached him with familiarity. Too much familiarity. "Excuse me," one of them said eagerly. "Are you Ethan Cole?" Emma froze. Ethan's expression remained calm, polite, but she saw something flicker in his eyes, the kind of flicker that came from being recognized when he had hoped to stay anonymous. "Yes," he said quietly. "Nice to meet you both, but I am here for someone, so I cannot stay to talk." The customers apologized, but their excitement lingered. Emma felt the knot in her stomach tighten. He told people he worked in investments. He told her he lived a quiet life. He never once mentioned anything beyond that. When her shift ended, she stepped outside where Ethan waited on the sidewalk. She hugged her arms around herself, unsure how to begin. "People know you," she said softly. Ethan exhaled slowly. "Emma, I was going to tell you. I just needed time." "What do you do?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. He met her eyes, calm but serious. "I am part of a company my family built, a large company. I try not to make it a part of my personal life unless I have to." Emma looked away. The truth was not dramatic, it was not shocking, but it carried weight, and it landed heavily in her chest. "You let me think you were just someone who worked in investments," she said. "I do work in investments," Ethan replied gently, "but there is more to it. That is true." The truth hung between them, soft, heavy, undeniable. Emma took a step back, needing space to breathe. I need a moment." Ethan did not reach for her. He did not try to pull her back. He simply nodded, his voice quiet. "Take all the time you need. I will be here when you are ready." Emma turned away, her heart aching in ways she had not expected. She had finally allowed herself to believe in something real. Now she needed to understand if that something still belonged to her. Emma spent the rest of the evening walking through the quiet streets of her neighborhood, trying to steady the rush of thoughts inside her. She did not feel angry. She did not feel betrayed. She simply felt overwhelmed. The truth about Ethan did not make him a different person, yet it made the world around him suddenly feel so far from her own. When she finally reached her apartment, she placed her sketchbook on the table and sat in silence. She flipped through its pages, stopping at the drawing she had made of Ethan sitting alone at the wedding. The version of him she saw that night was not a millionaire. He was simply a man seeking a quiet corner. She traced the pencil lines gently, breathing in the memory. The next morning, Emma woke with a sense of clarity she did not expect. She realized she did not need distance from Ethan. She needed honesty, and maybe he needed that too. She sent him a message. "Can we talk?" His reply came quickly. "Anytime. Tell me where." Emma chose the small park overlooking the city, the same place where she had first shown him her sketch. When she arrived, Ethan was already there, standing beneath the oak tree with his hands in his pockets. He looked calm, but there was a quiet worry in his eyes. Emma approached slowly. "Thank you for meeting me." "Thank you for asking," he said. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Emma took a small breath. "I want to understand. Not the company or the money. I want to understand why you felt you could not tell me." Ethan looked at her with a sincerity that was almost fragile. "Because I did not want you to see a title before you saw me. Because most people treat me differently once they know. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like someone was looking at me, not at what I represent." Emma nodded, letting his words sink in. "I did look at you," she said softly. "At least the version of you I knew. I liked that man. I still do. But I need everything to be honest between us." Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady. "Then let me be clear. Everything I told you about how I feel, about why I wanted to be near you, about what I saw in you, all of that was real." "I should have been more open. I am sorry." Emma felt her chest loosen. "I needed to hear that." He took out the small leather notebook she had seen before and held it out to her. "I wrote something. I think it belongs to you." She opened it to the page from the night of the wedding. But now, beneath the original lines, he had written new words. "She saw me before she knew who I was, and I want to spend my life earning that kind of truth." Emma felt emotion swell in her eyes. She closed the notebook gently. "Ethan," she whispered, "I do not need you to earn anything. I just need you to stay honest with me." Ethan reached for her hand slowly, giving her time to pull away. She did not. "I can promise that," he said. Emma stepped closer, the distance between them dissolving. She realized that the world he came from did not have to threaten her own. It could meet her halfway if he was willing to walk toward her with the same sincerity he had shown from the beginning. As the city stretched out behind them, Ethan lifted her hand to his chest. "Emma," he said softly, "this all started because I chose a seat next to you. But everything that came after, that was fate meeting choice, and I choose you." Emma felt warmth spread through her, steady and sure. "Then let us choose each other." Their hands intertwined beneath the shade of the oak tree, and the moment felt like a quiet promise sealed in the soft morning air. What began as an awkward, lonely night at a wedding had become the beginning of something steady, honest, and beautifully real. And for the first time in a long time, Emma walked forward without fear, knowing she was no longer walking alone.